ขออนุญาตพระครูสวดธรรมวิเทศครับคณะสงฆ์ทุกรูปเจริญพรท่านสาธุชนผู้มีบุญทุกท่านโดยเฉพาะอย่างยิ่งครอบครัวปกป้องเกียรติวันนี้ก็มี special request มาอีกรอบหนึ่งให้สัมโมดนียกถาภาคภาษาอังกฤษดังนั้นก็เพื่อประโยชน์ของลูกแล้วก็ผู้ที่รับฟังถ่ายทอดด้วยในวันนี้ก็เป็นภาษาอังกฤษไปเนาะ So today is the 6th day of the funeral chanting for Dr. Boonsak Bokbongkiat, and for many people who are familiar with funeral traditions in other countries, then it may seem that in Thailand the funeral ceremonies seem to go on for a long time, for many days. And this is not just a Buddhist thing, but it's also something which is very special for Thailand as well. Recently they have quite a major funeral ceremony in the Chinese temple, just down the road from us, the Lai Temple. And in fact, because of their beliefs in that tradition, they have no funeral. All they have is one day of hymns, no memorials, no chanting, no merit making. It seems very different from what we have here in our Dhammakaya temple. And the reason is that we believe that there is an afterlife which needs to be taken seriously, and that all the goodness that we do in our human existence, although it may bring benefit to the world as a whole, it may lay down many memories in a good way for the people who are left behind, but it also is the special merit energy that fills our hearts and minds and will help to propel us to a better place after we pass away, because death is not the end of the story. So generally in Thailand, not just Dhammakaya temple, they try to have at least a week's worth of merit making for a person who has recently passed away, only ending with a cremation at the end of that time. And this is because of a belief throughout Southeast Asia that, especially for those who have a mixture of good and bad deeds in their memory as the last thing before they pass away, it's 7 days which they must try to think of something good or to think of the goodness they have done, so that they can go under their own power to the heaven realms without having to go to a purgatory realm in the meantime. So for those of us who are left behind, especially the dutiful sons and daughters, there are many teachings in Buddhism, traditional Buddhism, about what is known as filial piety, which means the duties which it is recommended for sons and daughters to do for their parents when they have recently passed away. Some of these duties, of course, they are to do with when our parents are still alive. But looking at them again, in fact, many of them are to do with what we do after our parents have passed away. The first of the duties is to look after our parents in their old age. As they have supported us, then we will support them. But apart from that, another 4 duties which are given to us in the Singalovāda Sutta in the eastern direction, which our parents are regarded as, is that we will continue the good works which they have done throughout their life. So any good works which they have done, it doesn't mean you must go to qualify to be an optician. But what it means especially hearing the goodness which your father has performed towards the temple and the monastic community throughout the many years of his life, as a dutiful son or daughter to continue to do this work even though he has passed. The third thing is to keep up the honor and traditions of the family. We heard today about the 4 sorts of goodness called the 4 bases of symphony, or Sangahavatu, the 4 Sangahavatu, which are to do with generosity, the endearing speech, to do with volunteering, and to do with the consistency which your father Dr. Boonsak was a particularly good example of throughout his life. So if that is the honor and traditions of the family, then you should learn from that and try to pass on those traditions and exemplify those traditions. The fourth duty the Buddha gave to dutiful sons or daughters is to make yourself worthy of your heritage. And generally that is translated as a legacy. Sometimes the will of your parents to be passed on. You have to make yourself somehow worthy of this. But in fact, the legacy is not just a material legacy, but also a spiritual legacy. If you think about the bringing of the food on the Wednesdays, or the helping out with the English-speaking groups who practice meditation here at this temple, these are in fact a legacy which hopefully you will continue yourself after this from here on in. And last but not least, the Buddha charged the dutiful sons or daughters to make offerings and dedicate merits to parents after their death. And generally speaking, the 7-day period after someone has recently passed is a particularly valuable time. It is like a time which is a particularly sensitive time where it can go one way or the other, but with merit it will go in a good way. And in our Dhammakaya tradition, we believe that just going to heaven is a good start, but actually we would really like to go to the 4th level of heaven. We are not snobbish in this, but it is a special sort of power which those reborn in the 4th level of heaven, or dusit heaven as it's called, have some control over their coming down to continue in their journey of pursuing the perfections in the next lifetime. Without that, we may be separated up in our spiritual destiny and not meet each other again in our community to cultivate the good deeds and perfections in the future. So a lot of the merit making this time round is with the intention that we can join up forces again in lifetimes to come by meeting up and coming down to pursue our perfections as human beings in the lifetime to come together with the Dhammakaya community again. So this is the reason why we put a lot of effort into doing things right for the funeral rites and merit making during this 7-day period. But also in the Thai tradition, generally it continues with the 50 days after the death, 100 days after the death, and the marking the anniversaries, because merit is particularly important. In fact, it's the only thing that can help those loved ones who have passed away. So funerals are a good time to think about merit, but also to reflect back on ourselves. The Buddha talked about sons or daughters compared to their parents on 3 levels. And this is not to sort of be judgmental in any way, but it's something to have in our mind, perhaps as we are looking at the goodness which we have pursued for ourselves. He said that some sons and daughters have a merit that exceeds that of their parents. They are known as the Abhijātabut. Though some have the same level of merit as their parents, who are known as Anujātabut. Some have less merit than their parents, and they are known as Avajātabut. So, although we are not taught to compare our merits with other people, but perhaps just entertaining this thought in our mind, especially when we've seen an exemplary example set by Dr. Boonsak throughout his life, that have we managed to match that goodness ourselves yet? If not, then we can try to catch up. I hope we still have time to do that. But for today, reflecting on the merits, I would like to rejoice in the merit for all the goodness that we have cultivated today, especially the merits coming from the listening to the Dhamma sermon on the 4 bases of sympathy today, the merits of taking the 5 precepts, and the merits of offering the picked up ropes and listening to the Abhidhamma chanting today. For the part all of you have played in the offering of the robes and in joining and making a success of the funeral ceremony today, monastic community would like to rejoice in the merit of all joining today's ceremony. And at this time, the monastic community would like to join our hands together in a gesture of prayer as we call down the spiritual perfections of the Triple Gem, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, the Vajrayana Buddhas, and our hands in Nirvana, together with the spiritual perfections of all the root teachers in the Dhammakaya tradition, whether it be the great abbot of Wat Paknam, Pasicharan, who was the rediscoverer of the Dhammakaya meditation tradition, whether it be our main teachers in Thailand, the Venerable Dhammachiyo and the Venerable Tachiwo, the spiritual perfection of all the monks in the monastic community, and those of the Master Nun, Kunyai Maharatana, Upasika Jankanuk Yung, together with the spiritual merits and perfections performed by Dr. Boonsak Bokbongkiat throughout his life, and the merits that we have cultivated together in the funeral ceremonies up till today. May all these spiritual perfections and merits come together as a bright, clear sphere of light at the center of your body, and will help to protect you from all manner of misfortune, danger, suffering, and sickness in life. At the same time, may these merits act as a magnet to attract into your life all manner of good things, whether it be long life, strong health, success, happiness, fulfillment, good complexion, or quick-wittedness. Wherever you travel, may you have safety and protection in every place. Wherever you go, may you receive hospitality. In your studies, may you always be top of the class. May you qualify in the things which will lead to your fulfillment in life. When it comes to time for you to meditate, may you be able to easily attain peace of mind, attain the inner sphere of the Dharma, attain the body of enlightenment, and eventually to reach the wisdom of Dhammakaya. As we dedicate merit for loved ones of ours who have passed away, particularly Dr. Boonsak Bokbongkiat, may these merits reach him wherever he has been reborn to help to ensure for him that he enjoys happiness, radiance, and ever-increasing refinement in his new existence. This time the monks are about to give their blessing in the Pali language. For those of you prepared water for pouring in dedication, then you can pour that water during the first part of the blessing. Otherwise, put your hands together in a gesture of prayer and make your own wishes for yourself and others as you hear the Pali blessing now. ตั้งใจกรวดน้ำอุทิศส่วนกุศลแล้วก็หลับของพระสืบต่อไป